Right, so we're back and ready to dive into the Two Towers.
Yeah.
This time we're picking up after the Fellowship breaks at Parth-Galen.
Yeah.
Boromir's fallen defending Merry and Pippin. They get captured.
Right.
And Frodo and Sam set off on their own toward Mordor.
Yeah.
Really rough start to this book, huh?
It is. It is. It's such a great way, I think, to really kick off the second act of this whole story. Tolkien really plunges us right into the heart of the conflict. And we're forced to confront the consequences of the Fellowship breaking. Like, their bonds are broken now.
Yeah.
And the consequences of that.
Yeah, and it's so interesting how Tolkien splits the narrative. We're following Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli as they try to deal with Boromir's death.
Right.
But we're also following Frodo and Sam as they make their way towards Mordor.
Right. And it's that parallel storytelling that I think really makes it so tense. Because you're constantly aware of, like, both sides. You're aware of the dangers closing in on both sides and the immense distances separating them. It's just brilliant storytelling.
Well, let's talk about Aragorn for a second.
Sure.
His tracking skills are insane.
Yeah, they are.
He's following the orcs through Rohan, and he notices the smallest details, like bent blades of grass, little blood stains. I mean, it's like he's a medieval detective or something.
Yeah, he's very, very good. It's a testament to his ranger training.
Yeah.
And to his deep connection to nature. He's reading the landscape like a book, really. He can just see things that other people can't see. And he can piece together the orcs' movements and their intentions.
Yeah. And then, of course, he runs into Éomer and the riders of Rohan.
Yes.
And there's this immediate clash of cultures, right? There's this tension between Aragorn's urgency, like he needs to find the hobbits.
Right.
But Éomer has a duty to protect his people.
Yes. And it's a great example of the complex political landscape of Middle-earth.
Right.
Like, even in the middle of this huge war against Sauron, you still have these internal conflicts and mistrust between different factions. Which is, it's realistic, I think. You rarely see that in fantasy.
Well, I mean, it's understandable, though, right?
Of course.
Éomer's skeptical. I mean, Saruman's influence is spreading. They don't trust strangers.
Right.
And the fact that they can ride 40 leagues in 3 days.
Oh, yeah. Those riders are fast.
Like how?
Yeah. It's incredible. It's one of those things where you're like, wait a minute. But Tolkien is so good at using these little details to build the world. It gives us a sense of the vast distances.
Right.
The different cultures that inhabit Middle-earth. And speaking of world building, I think we should talk about Fangorn Forest.
Oh, Fangorn. The Ents.
Yes, the Ents.
Oh, can you imagine coming face to face with Treebeard?
Oh, my goodness.
Like the oldest living creature in Middle-earth.
It would be incredible.
And just his way of speaking, so slow and deliberate.
Right.
Must feel like time is slowing down.
Yeah, it's almost like he's thinking as he speaks, and it's been so long.
Yeah.
Since he's had to really think hard about anything.
Right.
Yeah, those scenes, I think, where they meet Treebeard are incredible. Tolkien's descriptions make you feel like you're actually there. Like you can actually feel what it would be like to walk amongst these giant trees,
Yeah.
Listening to their creaking branches, their deep rumbling voices. It's just so vivid.
And then he's got this song.
Yes.
And there's this one line, "To Isengard with doom we come." Like, talk about foreshadowing. Something big is going to happen.
Yeah, he's not very subtle about it either, is he? It's a great way to build suspense, though. Tolkien does this a lot. He'll plant these little seeds of anticipation, hinting at what's to come. And in this case, he's hinting at the Ents' role in the upcoming conflict. And he doesn't shy away from portraying their power.
Right.
Like they are a force to be reckoned with.
It really makes you realize that even in a world with, magic and these powerful beings,
right,
nature itself can be this huge force.
Absolutely. It can be the most formidable force of all. Speaking of powerful beings, though, I think we need to talk about Gandalf's return.
Yes.
This is such a pivotal moment in the story because Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli first encounter him as this mysterious old man.
Right.
And then, bam, he reveals himself to be Gandalf the White.
That scene always gives me chills.
Yep.
Like, he's no longer Gandalf the Grey,
Yeah.
the wise but kind of weary wizard.
Right.
It's like he's been reborn.
Yes.
He's got even more power and purpose.
Exactly. It's such a powerful symbol of hope in the middle of all this growing darkness.
Yeah.
He's a beacon of light, literally radiating power
Yeah.
and authority. And you know, you were talking about like rereading this book.
Oh, yeah?
I think this is a good time to mention that we do have a free digital copy linked in the description below. So if you want to follow along, or if you just want to experience those incredible scenes again for yourself,
Yes.
you won't regret diving back into Tolkien's words. But let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
And talk about Merry and Pippin's perspective on things. So they're riding on Treebeard's shoulders.
Wow.
As the Ents march on Isengard. What an unexpected adventure.
It's a unique perspective for sure.
Yeah.
Like, you get to see the destruction of Isengard through their eyes.
Yeah.
They're caught in this epic clash between nature and industry.
Yeah.
And they get to see the Ents' raw power firsthand.
Yeah, it's fascinating, too, because Tolkien is contrasting Saruman's meticulous, almost sterile fortress of Isengard with the chaotic, untamed power of the Ents.
Yeah.
He's highlighting the clash between nature and technology.
Right.
And ultimately, nature wins out.
Right.
Which I think is an interesting point he's making there. But even in the middle of all this destruction, Tolkien throws in these little moments of humor with Merry and Pippin.
Oh, yeah.
Like when they discover a stash of pipeweed in the wreckage.
Yes. Classic hobbits.
Oh, I know, it's so Tolkien. Those little touches of levity are so important because they remind us that even in the darkest times, there's still room for joy and simple pleasures.
Yeah.
And then there's the confrontation between Gandalf and Saruman atop Orthanc.
Oh, what a showdown.
I know, their verbal sparring is just, it's like a chess match.
Oh, definitely.
Each word is so carefully chosen and so strategically deployed.
Yeah.
It's a battle of wits and wills. And you can really feel the tension rising with every exchange. You know, Saruman, who was once a wise and respected wizard, he's totally consumed by pride now and ambition. He's such a stark contrast to Gandalf, who embodies wisdom and compassion.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how Tolkien shows Saruman's downfall. The braiding of his staff, him getting expelled from the Order. It's a powerful symbol of what happens when you choose power over wisdom.
Exactly. Your actions have consequences. And then we're introduced to Faramir, Boromir's brother. And unlike Boromir, who is so tempted by the ring, Faramir seems to understand the true nature of the ring's power.
Right.
He tests Frodo,
Yeah.
but he does it not out of greed,
Right.
but out of a desire to understand what Frodo is going through. Like, what burden is he carrying?
Right.
And that encounter at the Forbidden Pool with Gollum,
Oh, yeah.
that's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Seeing Gollum's desperation and then Faramir's compassion.
Right.
I mean, that scene, I think, really drives home the point that even in war, there's still room for mercy and understanding. Like, Faramir could have easily killed Gollum right there, but he doesn't.
He chooses to spare him.
He does. He recognizes Frodo's plea for compassion. And I think it's a real testament to Faramir's character.
It is. It's like he's his own person, you know? He's not just living in his brother's shadow.
Exactly. He's not Boromir. He's Faramir.
Yeah.
And it really makes you think about, you know, the choices we make, even when things are really hard.
Right.
But speaking of hard things, Frodo and Sam's journey through the dead marshes, it's bleak.
So bleak.
It's so bleak. Tolkien's descriptions are so vivid.
Yeah.
And unsettling. He just paints this picture of utter desolation.
Yeah.
The stagnant water, the decaying vegetation,
Mm-hmm.
the constant feeling that you're being watched.
Oof. It's like a physical representation of all the darkness in the story.
It really is. Like, the landscape itself is becoming corrupted.
Right.
And then, of course, that terrifying encounter with the Nazgul. That screeching cry as they swoop down. I still get chills thinking about it.
Oh, it's terrifying.
So terrifying. And it's just this chilling reminder of Sauron's growing power and the constant threat that hangs over Frodo and Sam.
Right.
And just when they think they've reached some kind of safety, they stumble upon Shelob's lair.
Oh, Shelob.
Oh,
Shelob.
talk about terrifying.
I know. It's one of the most terrifying creatures in all of literature, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Tolkien descriptions of her are pure nightmare fuel.
Like just this giant hairy spider with dripping venom. Just the stench of decay. It's just awful.
Awful.
Yeah. And that's where we'll pause for now.
Yeah, right.
Leaving Frodo and Sam on the brink of this deadly encounter.
The tension is palpable.
I know, right? But don't worry, we'll be back soon to delve into the next chapter of their adventure.
Okay. We can't wait.
I'm excited to talk more about this.
Me too. Okay, so last time we left off with Frodo and Sam right at the entrance to Shelob's lair. And oh man, the suspense is killing me. So what happens next?
Well, Tolkien does not disappoint when it comes to the horror. Like, Shelob's lair is just as dreadful as you can imagine. Dark, sticky webs, that stench of decay. And then, of course, Shelob herself descends upon Frodo.
Oh man, it's one of those scenes where you just have to like hold your breath, you know, like something terrible is about to happen.
Right. And it does. I mean, Frodo gets stung. He's paralyzed by Shelob's venom. It's a moment of pure terror.
Oh yeah.
But what's even more striking, I think, is Sam's reaction.
Yeah.
He's completely outmatched. He's facing this creature out of a nightmare, but he doesn't hesitate to defend Frodo.
It's true. He attacked Shelob with his little elven blade. I mean, talk about courage.
I know.
Where do hobbits find that kind of strength?
It's incredible. I think it speaks to their resilience, and their deep-seated loyalty. Sam could have easily just run away,
Right.
Given in to the fear. But his love for Frodo, it compels him to fight.
Yeah. And the fight itself is brutal.
Oh, it is.
Sam manages to wound her, but she's so tough. It's just a desperate struggle. And for a minute there, it seems like he might not make it.
Yeah, he's really outmatched. But, it's a reminder that even the smallest creatures can be powerful.
Right.
When they're driven by love and loyalty. And Sam's got a little something else on his side, too. Remember the Phial of Galadriel?
Oh, the Phial. Yeah, I almost forgot about that.
That's right. And this is the perfect moment for it to come into play. Because it's a turning point in the fight. That light from the Phial, imbued with Galadriel's power, it burns Shelob, drives her back. It's like the symbolic victory of light over darkness.
Oh, yeah.
Hope over despair.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful moment. And Sam manages to wound her pretty badly.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a mortal wound, but she escapes.
Okay.
But he saves Frodo's life.
Right.
But then he thinks Frodo is dead.
Oh, no.
And that's the real tragedy of the situation, because he thinks his best friend is gone. And he's left alone in this horrible place with the ring.
Oh, gosh.
With the weight of the world on his shoulders. And so he takes the ring.
Yeah.
He's preparing to continue the quest alone.
Wow. That's a heavy burden for one hobbit to bear.
It is. It is. But then there's a glimmer of hope.
Okay.
Because he overhears the orcs talking and he realizes Frodo's still alive.
Oh.
It's a moment of intense emotion. Sam has to make a choice. Does he continue on to Mordor alone, or does he risk everything to save Frodo? What do you think is going through his mind?
I can only imagine. It must be pure turmoil. The fate of Middle-earth, on his shoulders, the grief of losing Frodo, and then this sudden hope.
Right.
It's a lot for anyone to process, let alone a hobbit who just wants to go home to his garden.
It's true, it's a lot, but he makes his choice. He chooses loyalty
Yeah.
over duty, friendship over the fate of the world. It's powerful. And so he sets off to rescue Frodo from the Orc Tower. It's almost comical,
Yeah.
This little hobbit sneaking through the shadows, trying to outwit these brutal orcs.
It's kind of funny to picture.
I know. But Tolkien does such a great job of contrasting Sam's simple bravery
Right.
with the orcs' just like crude brutality. They're arguing over Frodo's possessions, like completely oblivious to the power of the ring.
Yeah, it's like they're squabbling children.
Exactly. Fighting over trinkets. They totally miss the bigger picture. And Sam, he uses their ignorance to his advantage.
Yeah.
He mimics their speech. He moves silently in the darkness, and he finds Frodo.
Oh, what a relief.
I know. Stripped, unconscious, but alive. And that moment when he gives the ring back to Frodo, it's so subtle, but so powerful.
Yeah.
It says so much about their relationship.
Right, that trust.
Yeah.
And the understanding that it's Frodo who has to carry the ring.
Exactly. And then their escape from the tower.
Oh, yeah.
It's so daring. It's suspenseful. And they actually pull it off.
It's amazing.
They manage to escape the orcs, and they get back into Mordor. It's a testament to their teamwork and their determination.
Yeah, they really need each other.
They do. But they're not out of danger yet, are they?
No, not even close.
They're still in Mordor, surrounded by enemies. The Eye of Sauron is watching them constantly.
Right.
But they hunt each other.
Yeah.
And that's something.
Last time we left, Frodo and Sam escaping from Cirith Ungol back into Mordor, And wow, it's hard to imagine a more hostile environment.
Yeah.
So what are they even thinking at this point?
Well, I think it's probably a mix of relief at escaping the orcs,
Right.
but also dread. They're still surrounded by enemies. Sauron is watching them constantly.
And they're so close to Mount Doom.
Right.
Like the only place the ring can be destroyed.
Yeah.
It must feel like every step is just a monumental effort.
I think so, yeah. The weight of the ring,
Yeah.
constant temptation, just the exhaustion. It's amazing they can even walk.
And it's like in these moments that you really see Sam shine.
Oh, absolutely.
He's always encouraging Frodo, reminding him about the Shire, sharing his food. I mean, he's the definition of hope and loyalty.
He really is. He's become so much more than just a companion, He's like Frodo's anchor.
Yeah.
His lifeline. And in a way, he's carrying just as much of the burden as Frodo is. He's carrying the burden of hope.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's interesting how Tolkien uses the landscape of Mordor to reflect their internal struggles.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's barren and desolate, just like their hope is dwindling.
It's a powerful metaphor. The landscape itself is a test, a constant reminder of what they're up against.
But even in this wasteland, Tolkien finds moments of beauty.
Right.
Like when Sam sees a star.
Yes.
Just one single star in the sky.
Yeah.
Above Mordor, this tiny flicker of light, and it's enough to give him hope.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, there's always some light, a possibility for redemption, and that's what keeps them going.
It's true. Their journey through Mordor is really a testament to the power of friendship and just never giving up.
Right, and that's what the Two Towers is all about, I think, and the whole Lord of the Rings saga, really, that even the smallest person can make a difference. Courage, loyalty, hope, those things can triumph over darkness.
So we leave Frodo and Sam continuing on toward Mount Doom. Their fate and the fate of Middle-earth is still unknown.
It's a cliffhanger for sure. You can't wait to see what happens next.
But for now, we should appreciate the journey Tolkien has taken us on, the characters, the themes, the scope of it all. It's a masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece.
And, if anyone wants to dive back into this story themselves, we have a free digital copy of The Two Towers linked below.
Definitely check it out.
And join us next time as we wrap up this epic saga with the Return of the King.
Sounds good.
Until then, may the light of Arendelle guide you, and may your own journeys be filled with courage and hope. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.